Are you heading into Europe? Are you a little bit concerned about the low emission zones and you're not entirely sure what to do and you're a little confused and overwhelmed by the entire thing? Then this video is for you. Hey, I'm Kat and welcome to Wandering Bird, where we share tips and tricks for motorhomers and campervanners exploring the UK and Europe. And today we're talking all about low emission zones. Now, this does apply to the UK. There are definitely some zones popping up all over the place. Portsmouth is one near where I live that has become a thing lately. But mostly we're going to be focusing on Europe, although the ways that you find out about them applies to both the UK and Europe. So just because I focus on Europe, don't think that you can't look at it for the UK as well. Before I dive in, if you're new to the channel, hi, welcome. We share tips for motorhoming and campervanning, and if you'd like to see more, by all means, hit subscribe. Okay, let's dive in. So let's talk about low emission zones. First of all, what are they? A low emission zone has been set up by either the government or the local council to reduce pollution. It's that simple. And the main way that they are doing that is by restricting high polluting vehicles coming into the confines of normally a city, normally the bigger cities. So who does this apply to? You can assume as a general overview it applies to pretty much all road users apart from cyclists. And the way that you know how it applies to you is going to be down to the individual scheme and also the category that you've got on your logbook, and we'll get to that shortly. Some of these are closed completely to vehicles of a certain pollution category. Some of these have set hours that you can and cannot enter through the city at, and some of them you have to buy an emission sticker before you enter in order to be allowed to enter and not get a fine. I'm going to start this off with an answer to a question that I get all the time. In Europe, the critter stickers are often called a vignette, and a lot of people seem to be getting confused by a vignette for low emission zone and a vignette for the toll roads. They are not the same thing. If you are visiting somewhere that uses a vignette for the toll roads like Switzerland or Austria, you pay for them at the border, you will get the sticker on your windscreen. You still need the vignette to get your stickers for the low emission zones if you are going to be travelling to a low emission zone. I just want to make it really clear at the outset that they are not the same thing, and I know a lot of people have been getting confused about that, because just because you've got one doesn't mean it covers you for the other. The other thing I'd like to say is we have been touring Europe for several years now and we have never ever had a low emission zone sticker. Not once. Now, I'll admit we don't go to the big cities and we tend to prefer the mountains and the wild areas, so we avoid the zones quite easily. It's not like we are actively driving around them, we just don't go to them. But you do not have to have a low emission zone sticker to go to France or to go to Germany or to go anywhere, to be fair. If you're not going to go to anywhere city, don't even worry about it. Turn this video off, go get yourself a cup of tea and have a chocky biscuit. You have made your day. However, if you don't know where you're going to go, if you do enjoy going to cities, or if you're going specifically to see somewhere like Paris and you know, although I wouldn't recommend driving into Paris with a motorhome or campervan, park outside the zone, get public transport in, don't get a low emission zone sticker and save yourself a headache. That's my top tip for the day. Don't drive into these big cities with your big motorhome. It'll make your life so much easier if you don't. Having said that, of course, we have the motorhome and we have two motorbikes on the back. If we decided to park up outside Paris and drive our motorbikes into Paris, I'm not sure I'm that brave either, in fairness, but just say we did, we would need low emission zone stickers on those bikes. We need one each, so it is one per vehicle. In Germany it doesn't seem to apply so much to motorcyclists, but definitely in France it does apply to motorcyclists, so bear that in mind. Right, I hope that all makes sense. Let me get to the bit that everyone really needs to know about, which is how you find out about them. Now, there is a website, I will leave the link in the notes, called Urban Access Regulations, and they have this fantastic map which basically tells you all the different schemes all across the UK and Europe and what you need to do to comply. One thing that a lot of people seem to be getting quite confused with, not necessarily for the UK but certainly for Europe, is you only need one sticker to cover you for all the zones, say in France, and then you only need one sticker for all the zones to cover you in Germany. So you don't need, I can't remember how many off the top, I think there's 6 or 7 different cities in France that have got a low emission zone on them. You don't need a sticker per city, it's just one that covers the whole of France. And to be honest, at the moment, including postage, I think it's about €5. It might even be less than €5 to get your sticker for the whole of France. So if you aren't sure, or you think, oh, I might just skirt it, or we might pop in, we don't know our plans yet, just get one. They can take up to 6 weeks according to their website. Most people tend to get them between 2 or 3 weeks, but you do need to get them before you go. And they won't send them to you as you're traveling unless you have a proper address that you can get it sent to and can collect it from there. So of course, if you're visiting family or whatever, you can get it sent to them. But generally you need a proper address that you can get it sent to. So that is definitely something to plan before you go. So how do you get these? There are countless spam websites that are set up, and admittedly they're not all going to steal your money and then you'll never hear from them again, but they've been set up to charge you a fee for getting a low emission sticker, and they charge you a heck of a lot of money. If you're on a site that is trying to charge you more than a few euros, you're on the wrong site. And I will leave a link to my post that's got the links for France and Germany, and also to the Urban Access Regulations website. And those are the proper government websites. The Urban Access Regulations website isn't a government website, but that has got the links on it to the proper government ones. Make sure you use those and not a spammy one that's got an ad at the top of Google or something, because you'll end up paying way more money than you need to. So the government ones only cost a few euros. They do take a few weeks to arrive, so you do need to plan that into your schedule as soon as you possibly can. So what do you need to do to get one of these stickers? And let's talk about France to give you an example so that you can work through the website with me. There are a few things that you need to have before you sit down to order your sticker, and let me read from my list so I make sure I get it right. You need to know your vehicle registration number. You also need to know your date of first registration, and you need to know your vehicle category. Now that is found on your logbook, and it can be found in a couple of places depending on how old your vehicle is, how old your logbook is, but you will find on there somewhere a vehicle category, and that's the category that you are. You also need to know your fuel source, of your petrol, of your diesel. You need to know your VIN number. Again, you'll find that on your logbook. You need to know the make of your vehicle, and you need to know your Euro standard emission, also found on your logbook. You will need to provide an upload in PDF or a photograph, PNG, of your logbook when you apply for it, and that's so they can make sure you're not making this all up and that the vehicle is as you say it is. And that literally means, so you can take a photograph and then you can change that into a PDF, but most of them will just accept literally take a photo with your smartphone and airdrop it to your laptop or email it to your laptop, and then you can attach that to your application. One thing that a lot of people get confused with, and I agree, the way that they word a lot of these websites is a bit confusing, and you can translate them all, by the way. They've normally got the EN or the little Union Jack flag on them, so it's definitely worth translating them. But one thing that seems to confuse a lot of people is, for private motorhomes and campervans, you are a private car. Yes, I'm aware that a motorhome isn't a car, but for the purposes of the application, you are a private car, not a commercial vehicle, unless of course you are actually a commercial vehicle. But for most of us, we are under the private car category. So in France, they've got 6 categories from, I think it goes from 0 to 5. Because of course that makes sense. And 0 is lovely and clean and green, and 5 is, oh my god, you're an awful, horrible, diesel, smelly vehicle. So wherever you fall on that scale, just make sure you know where you are. In Germany they have 3, so it makes it a little bit easier, but generally only green ones are allowed into the middle of the cities that are affected, and the amber or yellow, whatever they call it, and the red ones are not. So again, the German process is very, very similar in the way that you apply for it, and again it takes a similar amount of time to get it, but just beware that it will be a slightly different scheme, and you'll have to obey slightly different rules if you are crossing from France into Germany. So when you've gone through all that and you've paid, they take a wide variety of cards, so you should definitely have one that works for you. Then you have to sit back and wait. It generally takes, I mean, they say it could take up to 4 to 6 weeks, but generally takes most people that I've spoken to 2 to 3 weeks. So it is quite a long time, so definitely try and get that done as soon as possible. Once you've got it, it is then valid for the lifetime of that vehicle, providing nothing changes on it. So you don't need to worry about ordering it a year before you're planning on going on your trip. It doesn't expire. You just keep the same one. Make sure you fitted it properly on your windscreen. I'm going to keep reiterating that because they're very hot on it. But once it's fitted on your windscreen, and as long as the sticker stays intact, so it doesn't peel, it's not faded, it's easy to read, all of that stuff, then you don't need to get another one at all. It just stays there, and you can go in and out of the zones according to any other rules that might be there as often as you like. Of course, if you don't purchase a sticker and you enter one of the zones, then you are going to get fined, and again, they're quite hot on that, so don't do that. If you are travelling to Europe, don't forget to grab your Europe travel checklist so that you make sure you have everything that you need with you before you go. I hope you found that useful. If you did, a thumbs up is always very much appreciated. And if you are new to the channel and you'd like to get more helpful videos like this, then by all means hit subscribe. Thank you as always for your time, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!